have an attack buffer. I don't know how, but this is definitely the unit you want to get for just the highest percent attack buff in the game. So what do you think about it, Sidi?
I'm not gonna lie, I caught him and I thought he looked cool, so I was gonna use him, but Ren lead was too OP for me to actually use him. But I don't actually have an attack buffer.
What?
So
How is that possible?
well, actually now I think about it, I have Kuda, but I don't actually use an attack buffer.
I see. I was about to say, well, then if you ever need an attack buffer, there you go. They just gave you the solution to all of your problems.
I think he's one of the actual useful free soulbound units, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree as well, because this is a unit, that you first look at, and I was like, it's probably not going to be used ever, like the other ones, unless you have a mono team of Hydroloids like me, just because you want to collect it. But this is honestly, they made it, I guess, more of an importance to be relevant, even though it only goes up to 5 stars. So, what do you think about that, Doc?
Well, his leader skill kind of is okay-ish. Like hard crystal drop rate, crit rate increases, something like it can be used for a 5-star unit. Obviously, as you mentioned, the BB 170%, it's ridiculously high. So it sounds like, wow, if you're a low starting player and you could get those units free, that would be really good. So in that regards, he would be kind of nice. But on the other hand, if to get this guy, you have to be somewhat with a 6-star team setup just to be able to beat the dungeon even on the lowest level to have a chance to get him. So overall, it's yeah, he would be good for a new player as a free unit, but a new player has no real chance to get him. So overall, I think he's really useless. The combination stuff could be yeah, interesting. Could be an addition for somebody that's in the early game, get an attack buffer, doubles his own BB damage with it overall. So yeah, that would be cool if you would actually be able to get him somewhat early on. So overall, it's yeah, just no use for anything beside being evolution material. And overall, it's yeah, not worth getting if you ever plan on using him, because if you can get him, you probably got better stuff anyway.
Yes, I'd have to agree as well. Unfortunately, Grievesnare is one of the last 5 stars to, at least be able to poke at the new 7 stars and go hey, I'm still here, guys. Don't forget about me. But alas, until the Soulbound Saga free units get a 6-star, I could see this happening whenever they do decide to bring the Soulbound Saga units to 7-star form, that they're, their pets or get a 6-star as well. And I think then is the time when we'll have to actually reevaluate these units and really, put them to the test against other used 6 stars. But that's all in the future. So for me, I think that Grievesnare, while having the highest attack buff in the game, is still a 5-star. 5 stars, no matter how you cut it, slice it, put spheres on it, are still going to be pretty horrible because they don't have a super brave burst at all. While their BB fill might be lower because you only have to get it to BB, you still have to use one of your important slots for, a 5-star, where you could put a 6-star or 7-star there, and in my opinion, any choice would probably be better than a 5-star in the current meta anyway. So, now that we've moved past Grievesnare, Manticore, have to get to probably one of the more interesting soul-bound saga units in my opinion, Zedus. So, Doc, let's start with you. What do you think about Zedus? apart from what I told you.
The thing is, I checked his data when it came up on Reddit. It's like, yeah, well, 3 drop checks on his SPB, that's crap. No use to us alive. And then he had like the guarantee crit chance in it as well. It's like, yeah, cool, but just 3 drop checks not working. They changed it, and I personally didn't notice it, and was like, yeah, well, no use to him. And then I joined your team where you were like, yeah, well, I'll get one. He's pretty cool. I was like, why? That's like probably won't work. In the end, I actually got somewhat convinced that he's actually pretty good, basically because they increased his drop check on his SPB to 24, and 24 is somewhat high drop check overall. Like, I tend to compare him to Shira a lot, the Thunder Mitigator. She got 26 hits, so 26 drop checks, which is he can keep up with. He got a way higher attack multiplier, so basically does way more damage. He adds in Spark buff and 30%, which is 70%, which is like the standard right now, more or less. The death chance for death reduction, man, don't care. Chance for attack reduction, and that's pretty good. 50% chance for 50% decrease. It's not like a mitigation itself, but it's, from what I know and from what I heard from you, the highest chance you have for 50% attack decrease, and it stacks with mitigation, so you can basically create a double mitigation while with bringing him and bringing Shira, and you could probably even bring 2 of him to have a statistically 100% chance to get that. And the thing is, with it, he's actually usable due to the 24 drop check, so you can put him in a BB Spark team or something like that, where you would normally have an additional unit with high hit counts. You could put him in, so he is usable in a Spark team and Spam team, which is the more or less stuff I use most of, so I decided, yeah, he's probably worth it. Got one, kind of happy with it. Overall, I would say he's an A unit, not A plus. For that, the only SBS unit I would give that is still Trident for the stuff he can do, but just for the possibility of having high drop checks, and we don't have that on a lot of SBS units. Spark buff and the highest attack decrease, which will be probably useful later on in raids. I would say, yeah, he's an A unit. Definitely worth getting. If you got him, you could be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, so what do you think about this new Soulbound Saga unit to me?
Well, I personally didn't summon for him because I'm not a fan of the Soulbound units. After how OP Dragon was and Hadron, it just like kind of took fun out. But I saw you use him in Frontier Hunter, and I wanted to get him because the damage. It was in sections. It was beautiful. I think he's too OP again, like his peers.
Well, if you had to ask me, I would have to agree on that point. Alright, so I'm gonna give you the laydown on Zedus after talking to people I know, and for the most part, people have seemed to have forgotten about him because, you know, he came out at an awkward time. It was during Frontier Hunter, and then Frontier Hunter ended, and then we got 7 stars on 7 stars, and everybody was like, you know, I'll just take a look at this unit, and I don't see anything that's really exclusive to Zedus, because people were looking at the 100% crit, and then once they changed that, they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with this unit. Right. So here are the pros and cons. So Zedus, in my opinion, is kind of like Maxwell. The leader skill is similar. You get a 125% crit damage buff to units. Instead of elemental damage though, you get a 40% spark damage buff. And if you ask me, 40% spark damage on top of crit damage is probably the highest damage output leader skill you can get. And, you know, as all the other Soulbound Saga units have a 15% crit chance increase to all your units, this guy has it too. His BB for single target units does give you a maximum of a 60% spark damage buff. while also being a quite heavy hitter at 550% multiplier. Like Doc already said, it has the highest proc chance on his Super Brave Burst to inflict the 2 debuffs of attack and defense down. And I was told that, since we are getting Raid back for Global again, this unit will probably be a lot more relevant when we can actually access Raid, because I couldn't really test them out in Raid, but I heard Raid got buffed again because people were clearing things too easily. They had to ramp up the difficulty, because honestly, Global is kind of just click auto, then you just wait, then you win. For Raid at least. So the reason why I think this unit is massively broken is that a Frontier Hunter reward at rank 41 is Aerial. Now Aerial kind of fulfills the same role, except his proc percent chance is only 20. This guy has an extra 30% more. Not only that, he hits 3 times, which means it's extremely easy to spark all 3 hits. So in terms of overall damage, the threshold is a lot higher than Maxwell, because once you can crit and once you can spark on all of your hits, you basically get max output damage. Not to mention, he also has a really high Super Brave Burst multiplier at 600%, and a 70% spark damage to all your units. However, he does have his drawbacks. His initial low hit count is 5, with a maximum of 10 battle crystals generated, so he's not really looking too good for use in Arena. And in Frontier Hunter, you usually have to get him rolling by Fujin Potion on him. But if you ask me, he still does have a really high drop check, and with the new 7 stars out, just get like a FIFA friend, that really high BC cost of 57 to fill his Super Brave Burst kind of goes away, and he becomes really like just the god of all gods, Zedus. And I think they portrayed him really well in this case, so definitely broken if you ask me, so A+. And now that we're done with Zedus, and speaking of Frontier Hunter, like Sunic brought up, I'm sure you guys have tuned in to one of my streams where I was basically doing Frontier Hunter like a crazed madman, whose money was taken by Gimu, and I was fighting to get it back non-stop. That's how I felt, at least. And for me, this Frontier Hunter was easier than last Frontier Hunter, but getting consistently high points was more difficult. What do you guys think?
Personally, I think this Frontier Hunter really felt like a letdown for me in regards of it's just not fun doing Frontier Hunter anymore. And unlike you, I can't spend several days doing it. I usually just still have to go to work and just don't have that much time to spend into Frontier Hunter. So basically it's like, yeah, I would be willing to spend gems. I'm just not willing to spend all my time and not be sure about what I will actually reach. So I would still like to have the rewards, but it's just not worth the time to do the same things over and over again. It's like back in the days when I started like doing stuff for Frontier Hunter for the first times and get some ranks, so yeah, that was fun, and you did stuff over and over again, but you improved. And the last Frontier Hunter was still okay, because I still tried to max out the points I get from stuff, while this Frontier Hunter was like, really felt like, okay, I just set up a team and I work it. On my main account, I got a team that would do like 2 million points. Now it's a good amount. I would just have to do it manually. And then I did Terminus on my free-to-play account, set up a team that could completely auto-battle Terminus with maybe one unit dying. And usually I got like 1.8 million. I felt like, oh, this is stupid. I can do the 1.8 million auto-battling while working on the 2 million to maybe get a little bit more. Just won't get me more, really. And it's like, well, it's only time-consuming, but no challenge, no increasing or anything. It's like, just don't care.